So welcome to the rifle shooting seminars. This first session will be about mastering rifle sights. This is one of the four sessions, and a recording will be available after the presentation. And feel free to ask questions as we go along. As with any presentation, with any overviews, some of the subjects you may already know, but I hope to share some personal insights into these subjects, and hopefully, we can all find something interesting to hear. All right, so in our in Swiss shooting, we are basically shooting two types of rifles, right? Ordnance rifles and standard rifles. And for both rifles, we're using iron sights. The rear iron sight is what the Germans and Swiss call diopter, what Americans and other Anglo nations call aperture sights, which is basically a pinhole that's highly adjustable. The front sights are these front rings housed in circular globes. Okay, so the proper way to use the sight is to first of all align the sights. You look through the pinhole. You see the front sight. The front sight should be centered in the pinhole. This is called sight alignment. And when you introduce the target into the picture, it's called a sight picture. The target should be centered in the front ring, right? And all of the basically we're looking at a series of concentric circles. All of the circles should have the same center. That's why they're called concentric. And furthermore, the front ring should be in sharp focus. It's okay for the target. Alexa, stop. It's okay for the target to be a little blurry, but the front ring needs to be in sharp focus. In addition, the front sight has these leveling bars that should be mounted horizontally on your rifle, and you would use that to basically align to level the rifle against the horizon. You can eyeball it against some horizontal surfaces such as the top of target frames. So this is a sight picture in a nutshell. Okay, the basic working principle of the iron sights is symmetry sensitivity. Our brains are hardwired to recognize order, balance, and symmetry, so that when we see a series of concentric circles, we're naturally pleased by it. And when we see a sight picture that's slightly off in a direction, we're disturbed by it. We sense that something's wrong. In the same way that we walk into a room with a crooked picture, we sense that something's wrong, even though we may not be able to put a finger on it, right? So when it comes to aligning the sight picture, the best advice is to trust your instincts. If it feels centered, it is centered. If it feels off, it is off. So let's do a few exercises. Which one of these two pictures is centered?
Left one.
The left one. Okay, anyone else?
I agree.
Okay, so you're right, the left one. Okay. And the following one is a bit more challenging. Which one of these is centered?
Bottom one.
What's that?
Bottom.
Yeah. How about you, Richard?
The top one. I'm sorry. Now you got. So I would say the top one.
The top one is centered? Okay.
Mhm.
Ayla, are you seeing something? How about you? Well, maybe Ayla is not present. Okay. Oh, the
She's
bottom
muted.
one is centered. Um,
Sorry, I was on another call, guys.
what's that?
I was on another call.
Oh, okay. It's okay. It's okay. Okay. That's fine. Okay, the bottom one is centered. Richard, can you see, do you have a different opinion now? So,
No, it must be my eyes, to be honest with you, because
Okay,
they
well, that's
almost look
fine.
the same.
Okay, how about these two?
I'd say the right one, bottom one.
How about you, Daniel?
Yeah, I would agree. But they look,
They're both centered, right?
yeah.
So that was kind of a trick question.
Mm.
Basically, of the two off-center ones that we saw, right? We didn't leave the X ring. So one of them is at the edge of the X ring, the other is in the middle of the X ring. That's why it's a little bit harder to tell. But I think X ring, at least X ring accuracy is easily achieved by most eyes. Um, and the ring front sight is actually very, very accurate, because it is a concentric series of circles, and when it's off in any direction, you're able to tell, right? For me personally, I'm able to achieve like half aiming accuracy, about half of the X ring. Okay, so the correct ring size is 1.5 to 2 times the size of the target black. Now, the one that we're looking at right now is right in the middle of that. So you'd want about a third of the target on each side, a third of the target width on each side. And when it translates to actual physical dimensions, it's about 3.3 to 3.5 millimeters, okay, on most front side apertures. Okay, so the ring can't be too small. Uh, a common mistake is to make the ring so small that the target fits right in it. But that doesn't work for a number of reasons. First of all, there is insufficient resolution for the right ring. Our eyes have limited resolution, so we need more of the white to be able to tell how wide each side is. Also, there's interference from an optical phenomenon called diffraction. Basically, light has a way of bending around sharp edges and scattering. So even though you see a bit of light between the target and the ring, the target and ring may be actually overlapping a little bit, and the light that you see is just the light leaking through basically from the white of the target. So a third reason is that the target black is subject to lighting conditions. When the target is directly lit, the white of the target tends to swallow up the black of the target a little bit, so making it look smaller. When the light, when the target is backlit or when it's overcast, the black may actually look bigger than during sunny conditions. So again, the correct ring size is 1.5 to 2 times, and ideally it's somewhere between that. Okay, the recommended front ring type is an adjustable M18 iris. And it comes in a number of sizes and size ranges. The ideal sight range is 2 point something to 4 point something, because the settings that we want, which is 3 point something, is right in the middle. So that would be just right. We recommend a thicker front ring. The thicker front ring is about 1.6 millimeters to 2 millimeters. The thicker front ring has the advantage of being easier to focus on, and is also more tolerant of imperfect vision. If you, for instance, have a little bit of astigmatism, the blurriness doesn't intrude into the entire ring. And also, we recommend metal over glass rings. Some metal, the most common type of adjustable front size are basically this adjustable aperture, suspended by two metal bars. The metal bars provide a very good tool for leveling the rifle during shooting. There's another type of front sight in which the adjustable element is suspended in a piece of glass. This is mostly suitable for sights with spirit levels. Now, in our shooting, spirit levels are not legal, So that's a no-go. It's possible to add leveling bars, but that's your front sight tunnel needs to support that. Most of ours don't. And also, even if you have living bars, they're partial to the side picture, which make them harder to use. So, and also it's less there's less surface for contaminants due to the absence of glass, and it's also the metal ones are also cheaper than glass ones. So, we need to so the metal ones are definitely recommended. Okay, so what happens when you have imperfect vision? Now, first of all, perfect vision is not necessary for shooting high scores. Our brain has a way of working around slight imperfections in the side picture, and you can still tell whether you're centered or not. When I was shooting high power in my days, the old timers, the really high master old timers around would complain all day long about how they couldn't see anymore. But when they get down to position, they can still outshoot everybody else. So you don't need 20/20 vision really. But however, corrected vision does make you more confident, makes you more aggressive, decisive on the trigger, and it does make it easier. Some of the vision problems that we encounter is, first of all, the difficulty of focusing on the front side. The front side absolutely needs to be in focus, and if you can't, that's a problem. And also astigmatism. So your lens isn't quite circular, and this causes partial blurriness on the front side. You can correct your eyesight using a number of measures. You can try contacts, but you have to keep your eyes open for a few seconds, and that could cause the contacts to detach from your eye a little bit, and that causes that's not that's not a good thing. At least it doesn't work for me. Perhaps people with more moister eyes wouldn't have this problem, but most people would choose a shooting frame. And basically, it's a frame that it's a special type of glasses that keeps the lens perpendicular to the line of sight. And typically, in addition to correcting the vision issues, it would also be deliberately made slightly nearsighted, so that it's easier to focus on the front ring. Okay, and there's also cross dominance of your eyes. Basically, we have a dominant eye just as we have a dominant hand. If your shooting eye, the one that you use to aim, is strongly dominant, it's a good thing because you want to keep both eyes open while shooting. If you have to close one eye, it tends to be a more stressful position, and so it's better when shooting. You want to be as relaxed as possible, right? So keep both eyes open. But if your shooting eye is not dominant, if your other eye is dominant, or if your shooting eye is weakly dominant, then keeping both eyes open would be difficult because your other eye would steal attention away from your shooting eye. In this case, the easiest solution is to just add a blinder, right? Which is what I'm using right here. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be suspended from a shooting frame. You can just wear a hat and put stick a piece of cardboard under it. No, I use that solution for a long time. Okay, that's the front side. Let's talk a little bit about the rear side. Okay. First thing about rear sight is to make sure that it's positioned in such a way that it doesn't hit your face. Okay. And so most of the diopters that we use does offer the ability to be adjusted back and forth a little bit. I like to keep my rear sight quite far forward because I don't want it to hit my shooting frame. If I weren't wearing that, it would be I would install a little bit closer than this. But this works perfectly fine for me. Okay, now let's talk about a rear aperture. The aperture is basically this pinhole in the rear sight, and the size of the pinhole is adjustable by turning the drum, right, of the iris, and the aperture serves a number of purposes. In addition to aligning for aiming, The smaller the aperture is, the sharper everything in the field of view are in focus. It works the same way as a camera aperture. You're basically by making the aperture smaller, you're increasing your depth of field, and everything becomes more and more things at all distances becomes more focused, sharper, including the front sight, which is the most important. And also adjust the brightness. If you want more light to come through, you make it bigger. If you want less light to come through, if it's too glary, you make it smaller. A good starting point, and probably a good all-around solution, is 1.2 millimeters. You can buy fixed apertures, fixed rear apertures, and they usually come in 1.2 millimeters because it's such a standard. You can make it smaller, but I wouldn't recommend below 1.0 because there is a halo around the aperture. And as you make the aperture smaller and smaller, the halo increasingly intruding into your side picture, and your side picture starts to deteriorate. So instead of making the aperture too small, if you find the conditions to be too bright, you can use the color filter feature. And if your rear sight doesn't have a color filter, this is a worthwhile upgrade. Now, the color filter does a number of things. First of all, it reduces glare by cutting down the amount of light, further cutting down the amount of light entering your eye. And also, under certain lighting conditions, it can improve contrast. Usually, the available color filters are within a sight is yellow, red, blue, and a bunch of other colors, including a number of including the gray and a number of polarizers. But generally speaking, my own practice is to use the yellow filter while it's sunny and no filter when it's overcast. Are we proceeding at a good pace?
Yes.
Okay. Side adjustment knobs. Okay, of course, there are two knobs on your rear sight. The one on top is called the elevation knob. It moves the aperture up and down. The one on the side is called a windage knob. It moves the aperture left and right. Now, as far as which direction to turn, there are some indicators. Well, there's some writings on the knobs, but they're rather confusing, and I think we should do best. We do best to ignore them. We can just follow a very simple principle, which is that it's just like turning a screw, right? When you turn the knob clockwise, when you turn the screw clockwise, you're driving the screw down. When you turn the screw counterclockwise, you're driving the screw up, right? Likewise, when you turn the elevation knob clockwise, you're driving the aperture down, and with it, the point of impact is also goes down. And if you rotate the elevation knob counterclockwise, you move both the aperture and the shots upward. And when you move, when you rotate the elevation knob clockwise, you're driving the aperture leftward, as well as the point of impact, just like you're screwing into a wall, right, into a vertical wall. And the other direction when you rotate counterclockwise. Now, if your knob is on the other side, it works the same way. Okay. Also, it also follows the same principle. Okay, here's the $1 million question. How many clicks do you have to make on your sight to move the point of impact by one ring? Okay. Is it 1 click? Is it 2.5 clicks? Or is it 5 clicks? Any thoughts?
I would guess the middle one. I really don't know.
Or isn't
Okay.
that it depends of the size of the target?
No, it doesn't depend on the size of the target. Well, we are always using the same target pretty much most of the time. Yeah. I'm talking about a standard 300-meter target that we're using. Richard, how about you?
I think it's 2.5 clicks.
Okay.
5?
Okay, okay. I'm glad no one picked one click because I heard on the sideline some people say that. So it's definitely not one click. No manufacturer makes a one click per ring rear sight. It's just not suitable for target shooting. It's either 2.5 clicks or 5 clicks depending on which sight you use. Now, the most ubiquitous diopter for the K31 is called Type K. It's made way back in the day. If you go online, you can actually find documentation, scanned versions of documentation for it. And it clearly says each click moves 2 centimeters at 300 meters, right? And what does that mean when it translates to target? Now, for the target that we're using, the distance between rings is 5 centimeters, right? Including the distance between the edge of the 10 ring to the very center of the target. It's also 5 centimeters. So the metric target is a very predictable target. Now, each click is 2 centimeters. That means
2.5.
it takes 2.5 clicks to move the shot to the center. Right. There's no such thing as half a click, right? You have to either decide, if you're really 5 centimeters off, you have to decide between 2 clicks and 3 clicks, right? And there's another diopter made by an American company called Swiss Products, and it's about the same, basically. So when we have either of these sites, it's about 2.5 clicks per ring. Okay, and now we're not shooting at 300 meters, definitely. We're shooting at 200 yards. However, our target is as a proportionally scaled version of the 300-meter target. And furthermore, when the clicks are projected to 200 yards, it also shrinks by the same amount, basically, same proportion. So on our target, the distance between rings is 3 centimeters, and the amount on each click is on these sides is 1.2 centimeters. When you divide 3 by 1.2, it's also 2.5. So the number of clicks doesn't change for us, even though we're not shooting at 300 meters. The other type of sight is the various Weiss diopters, which is very popular. And I think a lot of you have these. A lot of you have these also. It comes in either the right-hand knob version or the left-hand knob version. And if you look at any website that has these for sale, they'll tell you that each click moves 1 centimeter at 300 meters, right? So these are twice as fine as the Type K diopter. This means that to move by 1 ring, you need 5 divided by 1, which is 5 clicks. Okay. For reference, my Tanner rifle's rear sight is about 4 clicks per ring, so it's actually a little bit coarser than the Weiss. And also, here's a popular sight used by smallbore shooters, Centra Spy. It's probably the most popular smallbore sight out there. It can also be used for centerfire rifles. That's about 7 clicks per ring. Now, of course, oftentimes the shot lands somewhere diagonal to the center, and to adjust for that, you just need to imagine a crosshair in your target, a centered crosshair, and you eyeball the distance from the of the shot to the center of each line, to each line, and then you can determine how much to move in each direction. Right. In this case, we have to move 2 rings down and 1.5 rings to the left. Now, that's in theory, right? 2.5 clicks, 5 clicks. However, the real world experience, when you actually make adjustments, kind of differs, right? Sometimes if you make 1 click, and the next shot comes out on the other side of the ring, right? Other times, when you move 5 clicks, the next shot didn't move at all. Why is that? And the reason is that you're not moving the shot, you're moving your dispersion. Now, our rifles are not capable of shooting into the same hole. Neither is our ammo, neither are we the shooters, right? So all of these combining accuracies means that we're basically shooting a pattern. When you, even when you're not adjusting sights, adjusting your sight, as you shoot more and more shots, the sights gradually land into a circular area, basically, and that's your dispersion. Um, and when we're adjusting sights, basically we're basically moving this dispersion, okay, so that the subsequent shots overall are closer to the center, right? Now, so we're not moving in any individual shot, we're moving the dispersion. Now, to determine how much to move the dispersion, we have to know where the center of the dispersion is. But when you only have one shot to work with, how can you tell where the center of the dispersion is? That makes a huge difference, right? If the shot happens to be in the center of your dispersion, then in this case, if the shot in this case at the edge of the 9 ring is in the center of your dispersion, then you have to move by 2 rings, right? If the shot is at the left edge of your dispersion, which is perfectly likely, then you have to move by 4 rings. Just as likely is if this shot is on the right side of the right edge of the dispersion, in which case you have to make no correction at all, right? So where is the dispersion? It's just not possible to tell from a single shot, right? Okay, let's say you're really, really lucky, and the dispersion, your shot is basically in the very center of your dispersion, and you decide, okay, I'm gonna make as many clicks as it takes to basically move the dispersion by 2 rings to the center, okay? And now you shoot your next shot. If you're doubly lucky, and this shot lands straight in the center of the new area, of the new location of the dispersion, then it'll appear that you've made the exact the result is exactly as you expected, right? You clicked to move the sight by 2 rings, and it indeed moved 2 rings. However, it's just as likely that this next shot will land on the far side of the new location of the dispersion, and in which case it'll appear to you that you moved more than you expected, and just as likely is if it appears if it lands on the right side of the dispersion, and then it'll appear that you have not the adjustment did not work at all, right? So what does this all mean? It means that we're operating when we're adjusting sights, we're operating under a constant condition of information deficit. There's not enough information. One shot is not sufficient to know how much to correct, and a shot after the correction is not sufficient to prove that we are centered up, right? So this is why sight adjustments can seem so unpredictable. And also, the closer we are to the center, the more unpredictable the sight adjustments can be, the more varied it is. Meanwhile, we have to act based on just 1 or 2 shots. And now, if we can shoot 10 shots and then make the correction, then we're going to be much more accurate. But we don't have that luxury, right? During a string for a record, every shot counts. And also during sighters, we don't really have this luxury either because our ammo and our attention span, our time is limited, right? So we have to act based on just 1 shot, let's say. How do we do that? The way to do that is to exercise some strategy. Now, there are some prerequisites to the strategy that I'm about to describe, which is, first of all, you have to know the number of clicks per ring on your rear sight, right? We already covered that, okay? And also know your dispersion size in terms of rings. So what you do here is just shoot a bunch of 10-shot strings, and then without adjusting the sight and see how big they are, right? Maybe you have a 10-ring dispersion or a 9-ring dispersion or an 8-ring dispersion, okay? So you have to know these 2 things. And then we come to sight adjustment strategy rule number 1. Make full value correction when shot lands outside of your dispersion. So let's say you have a 9-ring dispersion, and the sight is on the edge of the sixth, is right on the sixth ring, right? In this case, you take the number of rings that by which you are often away from the center. In this case, 5 rings, and you time the number of clicks per ring, which is if you're on a 5-click side, it means 25 clicks. If you're on a 2.5 click side, it means that either 12 or 13 clicks, right? So this is a full value correction when your shot is very far away from your dispersion. Sight adjustment strategy number 2. We are being recorded, right? Yes, we are. Okay. Sight adjustment strategy number 2. When your shot is very close to your dispersion size and area, or it's right inside your dispersion area, you have to be more cautious. You don't want to fly out the other side on the next shot. So in this case, make a half value correction, meaning that let's say this shot is 2 rings away from the center, you only make enough clicks to move it by 1 ring. Okay. This way, if the location of this shot is misleading, right, as to the placement of your current dispersion area, then on the next shot you're much less likely to shoot out the other side, which is very frustrating. Now, when you're on the 10 ring, you would cut the number of clicks again by half, right? You make another half value correction that this time by about only 2 clicks instead of 5, right? So the closer you are to the center, the smaller the correction you make. Always a half value correction. Okay, this way you can continuously refine your centeredness over your shots and becoming more and more centered and stay in your area of dispersion. Okay, sight adjustment strategy, adjustment rule number 3. Always make a correction after each shot. Okay, let's say that you see a shot in the you see a shot deep into the 9 ring. You're happy with that. Still make a correction. Okay, if you're in the 10 ring, still make a correction, make a half value correction. So that's what I do. This is how I ensure that I always stay in the 10 ring, and for this reason, I highly recommend that you get a rear sight with a right hand knob. A lot of these K31 rear sights have not the windage knob on the left hand side, which is terrible. It's not very reachable unless you take the gun off from your shoulder. So this is a worthwhile investment, I think, to have a right hand knob. This way you can very easily make a correction after each shot. Okay, dealing with flyers. What is a flyer? A flyer is a shot that's very far away from the mean, right? So let's say that I'm shooting a string, and I'm very centered. A very nice group is forming, and then all of a sudden get a shot out to the side. Okay, and I tell myself, I know what happened. I know what I did wrong there. Okay, my follow through was bad. My position was bad. Okay, maybe I jerked the trigger, right? And I tell myself, I'm not going to make that mistake again on the next shot, right? So I make sure that I do everything right, and the shot looks good, and it feels good, and then I look at the target, and the next shot is around the same place. Okay, what does this mean? It means that I didn't make the right call there. I didn't diagnose the last shot correctly, and I start kicking myself. Why didn't I adjust the sight? Right. So basically, you do need to make a sight adjustment in this case, but there's a dilemma here. No, if you don't make any sight correction, there could be another flyer in the same spot. If I make the same mistake, right? However, if you make make a normal sight correction following rules 1 or 2, right? If you manage to fix your whatever you did wrong for the last shot, you could get a flyer to the other side, right? You would have overcompensated, right? So what do we do here? The solution here is to pretend that a shot is at the edge of your dispersion and make a half value correction based on that. So in this case, my dispersion size is about the size of the 10 ring. So I pretend that this shot is at the edge of the 10 ring, and I make a half value correction based on that. Okay, and this has the following benefits. So if I make the same mistake again on the next shot, at least I'm a little closer to the center. I may even luck myself into the 10 ring again. Okay. If I fix the mistake on the next shot, the shot doesn't have nearly the risk of flying out the other side because I only made a half value correction based on the imagined location of the shot. Right. So this is how you deal with flyers. The last subject that I'd like to cover is how to preserve your zeros. You want to come to the range comfortably knowing that your rifle is zeroed, right? Day after day. Okay, how do you do that? First of all, if you disassemble your rifle, remove your sights, and after remount them, make sure that they're mounted consistently. It's not hard to do with K31. There are only so many ways you can install your sights. Another trick is to always know where you are in terms of your clicks. You do that by first of all getting a good zero. Okay, at the end of the day, you're happy with your zero. What you do is you rotate the elevation knob clockwise so that it goes all the way down until it bottoms out. During which you count the number of clicks that it takes to do that. Same thing for the windage knob. You count the number of clicks that it takes to go all the way to the left, or to the right if your knob is on the left hand side, and then you record these numbers in a notebook or a spreadsheet. Okay, for instance, this is an example for the borrow range at 200 yards. The zero on my side was 76 click up and 32 clicks to the right. Meaning, in order to restore the zero, I have to dial all the way to the bottom and then come up 76 clicks. And for the windage, I go all the way to the left and then come to the right 32 clicks. Right. This way, no matter what you do, when you have this recorded, no matter what you do to your site to experiment with it or whatever, you can always go back to your notes and restore the original zero. Okay, this is a trick that I learned from my high power days, and that's how you preserve your zeros. Okay, and let's see, and this is basically the end of my presentation here.